going to try and tie it a little bit together here as we discuss PENGU and different valuations and how it might relate to that. Try and get a sense of like where we think these things are going to come out at. I wrote this post earlier today, showing it on screen for people who are watching in. I said data points for PENGU predictions, just taking stock of where we are. So Doge is currently sitting at a $63 billion market cap. Obviously, that is the top meme. Not saying PENGU is going to get there, but that is the top meme for reference. Luca talks a lot about wanting to be number one, not necessarily in terms of memes, in terms of Pudgy Penguins being the best. So that's why I referenced the top meme. Got Pepe, which is, I think, the next, at least this cycle's top meme, right? This cycle's top meme so far has been Pepe. Broke out above 11 billion yesterday, just pulled back a touch to 10.5 when I wrote this post. And you've got something like Cult, which, you know, is very, I've included in this post as like a very recent reflection of where the market values something, which is clearly very valuable because this crypto Twitter values the Milady community, will value Cult, and that's like the latest way that the market has priced a token coming out at 670 million. I don't know if it's just a touch higher now. Let me just check. I've got the chart here. Yeah, we're at 688. So, that's where that's at. So the things to note about PENGU is that 70% of it is going to be liquid. We've spoken about this multiple times on the show, right? How we have seen how both with Hyperliquid going super liquid at the beginning with a lot of the supply put onto the market straight away. You've also had, Sammy, you just mentioned Rect deciding to go with much of its supply just out there straight away into the market, meme coin style, just go completely liquid. So in this case, we have 70% that's going to be liquid. I think so 50% of the token is going to be going to the Pudgy community and other communities. So that will be liquid. You've got 12.5% in liquidity. And then you've got a little bit held back for proliferation. So it's not fully 70%. There's going to be some public good element. There's going to be a proliferation element. And you've got a very small amount that goes to FTT holders, which I think is a bit of a meme. Obviously, those people who got wrecked in the FTX disaster. So that's the breakdown for that. Wanted to look at, so Cult is obviously one example of a token that's come out recently, 680 million at the moment. And then we had this story, just placing it into context. Legendary, I might play this clip actually from the show the other day. We did a clip of it where you referenced the GCR post. I just want to play that again because I think that's such a, like, I don't know. It's the prophecy. Is this not why they've been talking about the prophecy? For the people who don't know, I'm just going to play it here, and we'll see how we go. Let me try to find it. Present, share screen. How do I do this? I need to find it. Oh, I don't know if I can find it. Legendary, do you want to just recap what it was?
I'll cover it manually to not have the weirdness of having to listen to myself on screen while I'm also on screen. One Legendary, certainly enough. So Legendary Trader GCR posted 3 years ago. That was before the Pudgy Penguins were acquired by Luca. And the old team already had a post out teasing a potential PENGU token. And GCR then had a post to say that basically this could be a total game changer because you had Doge as the meme of the decade, and you still have, or you back then in the NFT hype had the massive issue that NFTs have a liquidity issue, obviously, because they are non-fungible tokens, and that the PENGU token for Pudgy Penguins would solve for that. And if it were to get listed on tier 1 exchanges, then it could compete with Doge in becoming the meme of this decade. And GCR himself also said that if this were the case, he would blast 8 figures plus into that token. Again, all of that was based on the post by the old team 3 years ago, nothing to do with the current PENGU announcement, but this is what kind of led to calling the thing the prophecy.
Yeah, this is the tweet that I've just pulled up. It said, Doge was the most potent meme of the past decade, and PENGU looks like a contender for this decade. Problem: NFT platform still infancy and can't get attention and liquidity as tokens. PENGU on a centralized exchange futures would be revolutionary, especially if low unit bias. And I would ape 8+ figures. So I think that's what people are referencing when they talk about the prophecy. I don't know if they've like explicitly discussed that or acknowledged that fully on podcasts or on media at all. I can't speak to that perfectly. But that's like a little bit of the backstory. What do you guys think here? Like, what do you guys think in terms of these three valuations? What do you guys think is appropriate? You've got Doge as the top meme coin at 63 bill. You've got Pepe as this cycle's top meme coin at 10.5, and you've got Cult coming out just now at 670. Like, what is your immediate thought? Maybe Legendary first, and then Sam, want to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I mean, we had a bit of the price discussion on the show on Friday, and I think the adding to that, the interesting point to me will be how the attention that pudgies have across Giphy translates into token price. We obviously have this figure that has been shared by the team that they have 50 billion views across all socials and Giphy that the pudgy IP has generated. And I haven't found a stat for Pepe because it's impossible to get that because everyone's generating Pepe memes and there's like no official now. I mean, obviously there's Matt Fury as an artist, but there's like no official Pepe Giphy distribution channel that is as centralized as the Pudgy IP basically. So it's impossible to compare against that. Seeing that now with the additional information that we have, Cult coming out as a obviously relevant like faction within crypto X, but still way smaller than the Pudgy Penguin mindshare, coming out at 600 mil, at 600 mil, and obviously also not all of that token is fully unlocked. They're still vesting to that as far as I can tell. Makes me think that basically that range that we had discussed for the show on Friday, which was if you compare that to Ape coin versus the Ape floor price, Pudgy's PENGU should trade at around 1.3 billion. And there was also the survey by Whale, where quite a few people kind of placed it in that $500 million region. And again, with that additional information of where Cult is trading right now, irrespective of how the unlocks look there, I just don't see a world where PENGU would trade that low. The 1.3 billion, I mean, obviously I'm talking my own bags here. It's quite clear that I hold Pudgy Penguins just looking at my PFP. The 1.3 billion, I think, also might be conservative. I wouldn't go as high as the pre-markets. I think we've seen the first pre-market launch for that in very low volume, but there it's trading at 8.8 cents, kind of implying a $9 billion ish FTV for that. But I would now be more comfortable to think that this token could run above $2 billion FTV. But once again, it's my own bags that I'm talking about, and none of that is financial advice in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, so did you say 1 to 2 in the end?
No, I said more than 2. That was a summary of my long monologue.
Okay. Yeah, look, I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Sammy, in what way? I mean, A, what are your thoughts? And then B, do you think we're running out of time for this stuff? This is the one thing we were actually talking about pre-show as well. Like, it feels like there are a variety of actors in the space that are getting the sense that we're running out of time. Like, if you're going to do something, there just feels like an air of desperation, especially when it comes to these more speculative launches, whether it's to do with AI, whether it's to do with memes. There's a few people that are like trying to get things out there and get it done. Having said that, there are some teams like happy to wait at the moment. Any reflections there?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's liquidity in the market at the moment for these things to pump. Just on the social side, from like the Giphy stuff, I just don't know how well that converts to like monetization. Like you look at TikTok as an example, like it's incredibly hard to monetize on TikTok. And I don't necessarily think we saw like a bit of a meta come through where TikTok would have stuff advertised for meme coins on there. People would come over, they'd buy the meme coins, but I don't think Giphy has that same pull. So I don't know whether we can add the same weighting to that. Obviously, Twitter is the main mind share of where all crypto stuff happens. So I think that, and Pudgy does have a very good brand. Like it's well received in the space. Everyone's rallying for it, whether you hold a Pudgy or not. So I think that's definitely going to play into this particular launch. But I don't know. Like I think I could see Pudgy launching sub 1, but rising. So not being one that people sell, because there probably is that upside. And I don't know how quickly that rises, but we've seen things with like Hyperliquid go absolutely parabolic, and I would never have guessed that that would come out of that valuation. So I think the distribution they've got is super impressive, obviously through Walmart, Amazon, like all the connections they've had along the way and the relationships they've built. So I don't necessarily think there's a precedent for this particular one that we could accurately benchmark against. So, I mean, I'm saying sub 1, but I could easily see a place where it would hit like two out the gate and then rise. But I think cautiously, I'd probably go, okay, probably sub 1 and then it will rise. As to your question around like, are we getting a little bit late in the cycle? Like, it feels like this has gone on for quite a long time. 2 months or so where things have been kind of up only. We've had the Trump administration come, like, effectively, like the presidential election come through, and that's been great for crypto. Had the Bitcoin blow off top through 100K. I think it does go higher, but I think that still leads the market. And I think the inauguration date on the 20th of Jan would be a date that I'm looking towards. I don't know if that's going to be a broader, like, or local top signal, and then maybe we continue up in the medium to long term, given all these structural changes. But I don't know how that translates to like meme coins. I don't know if it's going to be like a maturing market where you see individual sectors kind of pop off, and then you don't have this systemic like flow from Bitcoin to alts and so on. So I'm just trying to observe that and the structural changes and see how that impacts it. But I think everything's cyclical. We'll have like mini cycles, larger cycles. I think we're probably halfway through this like mini cycle or whatever it is. I think there's probably going to be a broader cycle post inauguration, and obviously it will be representative of what happens then. But I think short term, like PENGU's are pretty good. It's got good branding, good mind share. I think it will do well in the short term. I just don't know how. Like, yeah, I agree with. I just don't know where we are in this cycle, and so I can't really speak to longer term price action.
Fair enough. I think in the immediate, most immediately, I think it's very well positioned. I think the timing is great. Like, timing is great for it as things stand. My point mainly about it, like when I'm trying to think about this from, 'cause as you said, there's maybe no thing to benchmark it against. So it's like, we'll try to think about this from first principles in a way. It's like, the thing that I said about Penguins, that they unite the NFT world because they're the leader from like this cycle or 2021 NFTs. I know Bored Apes are fantastic as well, great ambassadors. But Penguins are kind of leading there. Also unites the crypto world, because you have all of these crypto podcasters who are like penguins. I think Kane from Infinex is a penguin. You got that Kevin from When Shift Happens podcast. You have people like Yano from Blockworks talking penguin bull cycle. There's like a lot of people in crypto media / crypto founders. Nansen founder Alex is, big into penguins. It's got that kind of builder crypto energy as well. And then you've got the TradFi world who just absolutely love it as well. I just shared in our private chat, I think, was it yesterday or the day before, Hunter Horsley from Bitwise, who runs the ETF. I think it was it specifically asking about PENGU? That specifically asking like what price PENGU is going to come out at. Like, I just think it unites these three very powerful communities in a way that other communities are unable to achieve. And so I think the price action can surprise to the upside quite aggressively.
You also,
What I actually
moved.
think.
Sorry, just say you missed. Go on.
Well, final thing, I think what we see moving forward is like, in order to work with, I feel like other people have done this before, but in order to work with people, you're going to have to lock up their tokens. Like, it will, like, if you are Bitwise, or if you're VanEck literally have a pudgy penguin. VanEck changed their profile picture to be a pudgy penguin. Like, as part of that agreement, I have no knowledge, I have no idea, but I would have thought there will be some type of commitment that's like, look, if we are going to help you enter into this universe, which is our turf, pudgy penguins, this is their turf, right? Crypto, Twitter, NFT world, all of that, that's their turf. VanEck want to, I mean, look, VanEck are huge and don't necessarily need to do that, but they obviously want to participate here for whatever reason. If you want to like be in this arena, then hold some of our tokens, lock some of them up. Own Pudgy Penguins and lock up the tokens if you want to be a part of it. That's my thought. Sam, you want to come in?
Yeah, super interesting. Actually, I hadn't really thought about the lockup aspect. I've just kind of thought, okay, well, at launch it's 70% liquid, but what happens when that supply gets taken off the market? And you could definitely see, and I don't know whether it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy where you've got this like post from GCR back in the day that's making these statements, and everyone's kind of looking towards it and being like, okay, well, let's make this come true. But I agree with you. Like Pudgy's got distribution from obviously the Walmart plushie kind of angle, but also from the media, from the TradFi angle as well. So I could easily see a world where this does become like the chosen token. Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. But I agree with you, like distribution's down pat.
I reckon a lot of this gets locked up in different ways. That's just my instinct. Like I think if you want to be, if you want to be in the good books and you're like one of these big holders, I don't think you can just like liquidate all of your tokens. That's my instinctive thought. Legendary, final reflection for you, because we've spoken about this a lot. We've got some other headlines to cover. Final point from you, and then we'll keep it moving.
Yeah, two quick very thoughts on that. On the Hunter Horsley post that you mentioned. The question was, what's the best way to describe the upcoming PENGU coin, culture coin, cult coin, community coin, other? It's interesting to see the sentiment there. People like Fred Krueger, the Bitcoin Maxi, being like, "Are you kidding?" A lot of people calling it a scam, a shitcoin, a cash grab. Obviously, having massive support from the Pudgies commenting in there. But that sentiment was interesting to see. And the other thing that I've been wondering about is since we have not only a large allocation for the Pudgy ecosystem NFT holders, but also for other communities. And there was this subline that there's going to be 5 million new holders, and you had both Moonshot and Phantom posting custom Pudgies as well. That basically the only way to get that many holders is to dust the wallets of Photon users, of Phantom users, of Moonshot users, etc. Obviously, also maybe distribute larger to specific other NFT communities than Pudgies. But I'm curious if they're really going to dust a lot of their token, or not a lot, if they're going to dust their token to that many wallets, what the market will think about it. Because the market is still not sure how we trade that. Is that the Pudgy token? Is that a meme? That will be interesting to see how the market will look at it. And this was the question that ultimately Hunter Horsley was aiming at. But also, what will we do with that, like, very inflated holder number? Will we think that's bullish because there's 5 million holders? Will we be a bit skeptical about that? So that is something that I'm curious to see how the market will form its narrative and opinion on that.
Well, I think they would just literally, any rational analyst would just remove any reference to hold account in any analysis going forward, because it's effectively irrelevant. I don't know what that does for the reputation of the launch, but yeah, dusting just doesn't make sense to me, because and you see that like holder numbers are a meme, like the number of wallets are a meme, because you can manipulate it so easily. So maybe other metrics, whether it's like mind share on socials and stuff like that, becomes a little bit more important.
Fair enough. Look, I thought it was an important conversation to have, because I think this is going to be one of the biggest defining events for December. And yeah, I think there'll be broader implications too. Or one thing, having this conversation is helpful to me personally, because I want to figure out how I'm going to do it. Obviously, I've got this allocation as a holder myself, just trying to figure out to what extent you hold, to what extent you buy more. Also, I'm wondering whether there's a bit of a liquidity, like a pull on liquidity from elsewhere, like getting sucked into this moment. That's something I'm playing through in my head, because if you cast your minds back to Ape and the kind of the mania around Ape when that was launching, and then when that was ripping after its launch, there was a little bit of liquidity suck from around the rest of the market.